So there's gonna be a lot to talk about in this video, and I don't know how long it's gonna be, but I hope that I can convey to you all what the story is behind the scenes. It's pretty well known within our circle of friends that we have a very strong relationship, and even with people who just met us, they usually see how close we are from a glance. But with all strong, built-up structures, there's always a really strong foundation. And we had to build that strong foundation abnormally fast compared to most people. I might sound a bit conceited, and I don't think we have the craziest history out there, but the things we went through really changed us as people. I can confidently say that the people we were in 2016 are barely even the same people we were in 2017. And with 2020 coming up, I thought it might be a good idea to reflect on all of that. That's pretty much why I started this series in the first place, so hope you can all find something in these videos that resonates with a part of you too. So I guess we'll get started. I guess we're starting off with a weird one. Remember that course I talked about in the first video, the one where we met? The professor of that course offered us a chance to apply for the Tropical Biodiversity Field course. Bio C51 was the course code for that, and I don't think I'll ever forget that. And I'll tell you why. The course revolved around a single trip to Tortuguero National Park in the Limon province of Costa Rica. That shit was the best trip I've ever had in my life, at least up until the point that I posted this video. It was really eye-opening to see such biodiversity in a different side of the world. You can really sense the importance of the rainforest and marine ecosystems to the world while you're there. While it was no Amazon rainforest, every ecosystem matters. And if it is this evident in a smaller scale rainforest system like this, damage to places like the Amazon are really put into perspective. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I had a lot of convincing to do to go on this trip. It was gonna be relatively expensive, and I definitely wouldn't have went under normal circumstances, but I had to go. For my girlfriend, who wasn't even my girlfriend at the time when we found out about this offering, was going, and I thought I could use this trip as a way to get closer to her. Well, you guys already know that I kinda got a head start on that, but damn it, I still wanted to go on this trip. This trip was especially amazing because I got to go with my girlfriend, and we were pretty honeymoony at this point. So I guess you can say we had a pseudo honeymoon in the jungles of Costa Rica. Even on the first day we were there weren't enough beds in the boys' room and the girls' room, so they called out both of us, and they shouted at us. We were super scared that they were gonna kick us out of the trip because we were dating for some reason, but then they just do the most unexpected thing. They gave us our own room. What? What the heck? I mean, that was super blessed, but damn, super unexpected. Although that did make the trip more memorable. We went on amazing boat rides day and night through the jungle, went caiman watching, looked at otter poop, got eaten by jungle bees, got stuck in quicksand, surveyed sea turtles, caught and sampled fish, found ancient artifacts in some hidden ruins, got chased by a giant boulder. Well, those last two might not have happened, but still, it was so much fun, and me and my girlfriend would do it again and again. Unfortunately, nearing the end of the trip, my girlfriend got some disheartening news. We were having a great time in Costa Rica for sure, but near the end of the trip, my girlfriend, who I'm just gonna refer to as T from now on, receives a message that her grandmother, who also went on vacation at the same time, had to leave early and went back to Toronto earlier than expected. I'm sure she was thinking about it a lot while we were there, and on our way back to Toronto, her grandmother had been admitted to the hospital for reasons unbeknownst to us at the time, but she didn't stay too long. She was already back in the house after a while, and all was going well. Her grandmother kind of had a history of being sick. She already gotten over many of the health complications she's experienced in her life, and she's the definition of a strong and tolerant woman. But everyone has their limits. She may have tolerated too much, and the strength that she's built up in her mind throughout her whole life, the strength of the love she had for her granddaughter, and the strength to live on, sometimes isn't strong enough to overcome the signals your body gives you. Imagine waking up one morning thinking it was just gonna be like any other morning. You know, wake up, your parents or something make you breakfast as usual, you getting ready for school or just for the day ahead. You go about your day, follow the routines, go home, do all the stuff you do before you go to bed, and then go to sleep. Well, that's not what happened. One morning, T awoke to her grandmother in a dire state, and all she really asked for was for help cleaning a mess that she had made. T still had class to go to that day, so she just helped her grandmother clean up, and then she headed over to school for her class. Turns out, around the middle of the day, I believe, her grandmother went back to the hospital once again, and it really wasn't looking so good. My memories are a bit hazy of all the stuff that went down, but I remember for sure what a hard time it was for T and for us. I came over a lot while this was all going on, and I really wanted to be there for her. No one really was there for her at the time while this was all going on. School carried on, and we had so many assignments and finals to worry about, including the paper for the Costa Rica class. Stress was already off the charts for me, so I couldn't even imagine what T was going through. This was all out of the blue, and I knew she needed help. She couldn't be at the hospital all the time, and that was okay, I guess. I mean, her grandmother was in a stable condition, and nothing was really certain. Her grandmother just gotten over so many things like this, so T still kind of stayed on top of her school and her life. We had found out that her grandmother was being seen by her oncologist again, which, for those of you who don't know, is a doctor that practices cancer treatment. Her grandmother never mentioned anything about her cancer coming back. There was some mention of it briefly a few months back, but I didn't know any of this. I think T was always a little wary of her cancer not being completely gone, but her grandmother's stubbornness probably helped hide this fact. I would be staying overnight on many of the nights, to help T get through it all. And one night, she was feeling really down, and it was probably the hardest night on her. When I think about it now, that night, in the back of her mind, she knew what was going to happen. She knew that this time it felt different, and she knew that maybe everything was going to change soon. And within a day and a half of that night, everything did. I got a text early in the morning from T, around 6 in the morning, that her grandmother had passed away. I could not even fathom what was going through her head at the time. She just lost her everything. The life she had, the person who pretty much raised her, gone in a single moment. This was such a turbulent time for the both of us, and especially for her. It's hard to recall all the details of what happened because so much was happening in this sort of era in our lives. I'd say we were still pretty young and immature at this time, so this really flipped around her life. What do you even do when your parent passes away? The only other person in her house was her grandmother, and it's been that way for many years. I'll be completely honest here, no one in her family was really offering to take her in, and even if they did, there wasn't really any practical solutions for her to move out of her place and into another. I won't really divulge every detail, but I can say that she was definitely on her own now. I mean, I would have offered to let her stay with me and my mom for a while until we could figure out what a good solution would be for her, but that came with its own complications too. It made the most sense for her to stay where she grew up, at least for a few months, and then figure out what to do from there. We had to take into account everything her grandmother left behind, what was important, what was sentimental. You can't just move shit like that around right away. Rent, utilities, groceries, just living in general was all her full responsibility now. Just turning 19 a few months ago without any plan to save for such a predicament, it was gonna be very, very hard. This applies to most people. No one really teaches you how to live on your own, but most people have help or have had the time to prepare. She knew that, I knew that, and we had only been dating for 5 months at this point, but I still wanted to do all that I could for her, so that's kind of what I did. I was coming over several times a week to help clean, cook, walk the dog, fix stuff around the house, sorting out stuff we needed to sort out, all that, and more. She still had full-time studies, and so did I, so it was good for her, especially to have someone helping to walk the dog at different times of the day, and to take over for chores when one of us had something coming up for school. I was working part-time at Old Navy, so I had some money at the time to help her out, and my girlfriend had an okay amount of savings from working last summer. I was asking my mom to stay overnight some days because it was a pretty big place for one person to live, so I imagined that it must have been very lonely for her. I don't think anyone should be left alone, especially after an experience like that. She wasn't completely cool with it, but my mom already knew that I would be too stubborn to go home anyways, so she let it slide. I think I was probably doing this for 2 months straight, just coming over, going home, coming over, staying the night, going home, coming over, staying 2 nights, going home, and it just went on and on. I capped out at 3 nights, but when you have a Filipino mom like mine, this is very, very taboo. Not only sleeping over was already a big deal to my mom, I was staying with a girl who also happens to be my girlfriend of around 6 months. And I was staying multiple days on very short notice. Very big no-no. And one day, around late April, early May, I think, I just never went home. I know it seems so out of the blue, and it kind of sounds like I'm leaving out a bunch of steps, but honestly, not really. I kind of just stopped coming home, and I knew exactly when I wanted to. Me and T, throughout those days of me just coming over all the time, we talked about it a lot. I don't know, it was just something I felt like I had to do. There were many reasons, of course, and a lot of it was very personal, but there were practicalities to it as well. There were a lot of complicated circumstances at play here. It almost made too much sense to move out, at least to us. I've always wanted to move out and be more independent, and my girlfriend wasn't really prepared to live on her own just yet. The opportunity arose, and I just took it. I packed up most of my clothes, my desktop computer, all my game consoles, and pretty much anything that was truly mine from my room. I had no cheap way of moving this around, and I didn't really have anyone to ask to drive me. This was a very quick and rash decision that I made, so I was barely prepared. I ended up calling an Uber and hoped that the driver would just be cool with me helping me move all this stuff. The Uber came, and it was a middle-aged man that was super nice about it. He asked me why I was moving all my stuff. I kind of gave him my story, and he really gave me a good perspective as he was a parent of kids that were heading to university soon. He was very understanding of the situation and told me something that me and T kind of thought about too. And what he told me was, your parents will just be mad at you. And if you know that this is exactly what you want to do, and you know exactly what you need to do to make it work, you'll survive and do well enough for yourself for them to have no reason to get mad at you. We are parents, we worry. And, I took that information to heart, and I had no doubts about moving out. I came to believe that if I could show them that I can really do this, then they will accept my decision. And so we reached my girlfriend's apartment, and the driver helped me get all my stuff to the front door. And that was the last day I was in my house, and the last day that I would see my family for a very long time. Yeah, so there's way more to the story after that. At the time of me recording this video, I've been happily living with T for about 2.5 years. There's a lot of dramatic events that happen in between the events of this video and the present, but I'll get to that in another series. A lot of the things that I will talk about will be about problems I had, so I didn't think it would be appropriate or that it would make sense to put it as a part of the SOULMATE series. I do want to talk about all the amazing things that I've done with tea since then, but I will probably upload those as part of another series, or I will just keep it as the Soulmate series. But know that I'll be uploading these more sporadically with other series or random story videos uploading in between. Thank you for getting to the end of this very long and convoluted story. I really hope that I have improved in storytelling since the first video, because I really do love making these videos, and it makes me happy to know that I can get better at something that I really enjoy. I guess I'll see you guys on the next one, so bye.